Hi everyone, my name is Liana, and this is not AP Daily, and I'm not a certified teacher, but I consider myself a writer who loves dissecting people's feelings, making me qualified to give my own 2 cents about the literary analysis of Chapter 9 of The Handmaid's Tale, a short but strong excerpt rich in rebellion versus conformity, what this project is all about. Some context for those reading other novels, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood is a dystopian novel set in Gilead, a regime that's overthrown the US government after the assassination of the president. Due to a fertility crisis, the state forces fertile women, who are called handmaids, into service to reproduce. The story follows Offred, a handmaid assigned to a high-ranking commander, as she navigates this oppressive society while trying her hardest to cling to her past as a wife and mother. The idea of past versus present introduces a sort of interplay between rebellion and conformity, which is what I'll be talking about in this dissection of Chapter 9. I encourage you to all check out the attached PDF that I put in the assignment, pause this video and read it on your own, or listen to the attached audiobook before continuing so you have a better understanding of what's going on, what I'm talking about, but I can't stop you if you don't. Offred begins the chapter accepting the room she's been assigned to as her own, practically admitting defeat and diminishing her own character. Offred isn't even the protagonist's real name, it just represents the way her commander, Fred, possesses and controls her in this moment. She doesn't even belong to herself. Here, she acknowledges that she's telling a story, solidifying that this is told in the first person and that we're bound to get a better understanding of our narrator by digging deeper into her feelings. Following that up, she introduces the concept of the handmaids that have come before her in the same room, kind of like a shared trauma and the companionship she's forced to have with that handmaid through just the comfort of sharing this burden with someone. So she begins a flashback. It's her in a hotel room reflecting on how she wasted her time and her freedom back then, taking everything for granted. The vivid imagery she uses helps compare her past and her present. Now exploring rooms and having the idea of privacy is liberating, but back then it was mundane. She follows this up with the phrase rented license, which a license is permission to do something, and renting the capability of not being seen by paying for a hotel room and staying within it is what she's referring to with the phrase rented license. It's pretty interesting. However, this also plays with the idea of being licentious or overly sexual, which discusses the nature of Offred and Luke's relationship. We learned that Offred was in this hotel room to offer Luke, her husband, which she's now separated from, an outlet from his ex-wife by cheating on her with Offred. She would wait for him anxiously in the past, but still of her own accord, exploring the room and waiting for his love. So, this page juxtaposes the exploration of 2 rooms Offred has considered a temporary home. A hotel room is used as a reflection of the carefree past she had control of, and the room she's assigned as a handmaid shows her controlled present and future, highlighting that stark contrast. Page 2 begins with Offred saying that her and Luke would lie together in bed, but you'd expect her to say lay together. It plays with the passive idea to lay with someone and show love to them, but also to lie, considering this was an extramarital affair. In the New World, this is a criminal offense, so she mentions how her and Luke were happy even if they didn't know it, and they took that time for granted. Also here, the word bustles is used, which means to move hurriedly or quickly, but it's also a historical women's undergarment, so this wordplay on the author's part represents that Offred and Luke's relationship started as an affair. Her flashback ends and it's bittersweet. She says that what she had seems like an impossible thing, emphasizing the desperation she now feels at her current situation. Here, we're introduced to an important metaphor, stains on the mattress being compared to a symbol of dried flower petals. This represents old love, and how Offred misses Luke and wants to feel his comfort and companionship and love in this moment. Offred tells us that this overwhelming feeling of loneliness makes her feel like she's gasping for air. The impossibility of her desires makes her feel completely suffocated because there's absolutely nothing to be done. This page forces Offred even further into conformity because she feels alone and helpless. This idea is reinforced on the next page because there's physically no room for Luke right now. Literally no room beside her in bed to have him even lay with her. If you zoom out though, There's also no room that even exists for them to be together in life anymore, due to the structure and control that Gilead has in their lives now. The idea of the room being modified to prevent handmaids from committing suicide reinforces the idea that there's no possibility to escape. It makes rebellion seem like a distant and impossible idea, and gives Offred a reason to lose hope. Offred finds a message left by a handmaid that came before her, which becomes a symbol of hope and rebellion. She doesn't know what it means. It's written in Latin, but it's something to discover, and it arrives to her like a message in a bottle because she's stranded in her own emotions. This message instantly gives Offred a sense of companionship and hope that she was yearning for. In this society, women aren't allowed to read or write, so this is a handmaid before Offred breaking the rules, introducing the idea of rebellion into this new regime. This is Offred's first glimmer of hope to see that rebellion is possible. Not everyone is conformed to what's happened, so there must be some sort of resistance. As a response to this hope, the image of Moira is brought up, who is Offred's college friend and represents defiance and hope of escape. And she likens that handmaid who inscribed the message into the cover to Moira. So knowing that the handmaid before her may not have been a conformist, Offred tries to get more information from Rita, but Rita treats her like a child, demonstrating the power hierarchy and showing there have been many handmaids in the house before, but still introducing the idea that some handmaids have gotten into trouble and been taken away before their 2-year term was up, opening up the possibility that there's an escape to this hell other than death. On this page, the presence of the Latin phrase, though kind of insignificant at first because it can't be understood, foreshadows a gradual shift towards resistance and the desire to resist, and encourages Offred to take control. She begins to demonstrate this idea of taking control by lying to Rita, circling back to the idea on the second page about lying versus laying. So, lying with someone versus lying to take control of situations. She's encouraged to lie because of the rebellious actions of the handmaid who left this message and is now giving her hope. The chapter ends beckoning to that hope. Rita basically confirms that there's a rebellion. In this chapter, the idea of the forbidden goes hand in hand with rebellion and conformity. The phrase gives Offred hope and resilience, offering her something to keep her mentally strong as she endures her oppression, but also while she pursues more information and feels she finally belongs to something bigger than the role that's been forced onto her. Despite the rigid rules, Offred holds on to the memories of her past life, her husband, her child, her best friend, and begins noticing the small signs of rebellion around her. These glimpses of resistance raise the question, can she find a way to fight back, or is survival by diminishing herself the only option? And that's my example on how to use this chapter to do a zoom in and zoom out analysis of The Handmaid's Tale and its themes of rebellion and conformity. I encourage you all to read the book if you get the chance and aren't squeamish to topics like SA, but I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless and don't have too much trouble answering the questions that I attached to the assignment for this presentation. Good luck everyone, and thank you for offering me your attention for 8 minutes.